Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You mean to wish me a good morning? What do you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
Random controversial question for you, Ben, just to kick things off. Do you like James Franco?
Yeah, I don't mind James Franco.
Do you reckon he's been in timeout for long enough?
I didn't even know he was in timeout. You know how sometimes actors just disappear for a while and then all of a sudden they come out with 5 films in a row?
No,
I just figured that's what was happening.
he fell under the council bus. That's the problem. I'm just wondering, has he been out for long enough?
Well, don't you have to show contrition to get out of it?
I guess so.
I always thought that was the rule. You had to go and, I don't know, do a course.
Well, do a course.
It's like blowjobs from interns, not okay. Check.
Apparently, and look, I could be wrong, but if you read up on it, I think the misconduct was his drama school. Some of the activities and exercises they were doing with the actors was a little bit too touchy-feely. There could be more to it, but that is what I read into it. Anyway, the whole point of me asking you that question is because I saw that he's got a whole bunch of movies coming out.
Just like I said.
Yep, and that kind of signals a comeback. That's the reason we're playing Skrillex from Spring Breakers right now.
Right. I was going to say, how many of those movies have Seth Rogen in it?
I don't know. I think he's completely severed ties.
Well, I think I think completely threw him under the bus.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, here we go. Welcome, everybody. This is Good Movie Monday, the weekly podcast dedicated to nerdy cinematic ramblings. I'm Glenn Cochran, and I'm currently pimped out with cornrows. Just like James Franco from Spring Breakers.
And I'm Ben Helwig, and I'm decked in a bikini and a balaclava.
Oh, I was going to say you're the guy with the corn dogs. But I like your version better. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Ready for another episode?
No. Yeah, of course I am.
Well, we appreciate everybody for joining us for yet another episode. We have a great show lined up, including a chat with Mike Leeder. This is a British mover and shaker. He's a guy that's based in Hong Kong, has been there for 20 years, and he's a producer, a stuntman, an actor, casting director. He's just a jack of all trades. And we had a really great conversation with him recently, and this guy likes to talk. Let's put it that way. So this is, this...
And that's coming from two guys who like to talk.
Yeah. Well, this counterbalances last week's interview, which was like 4 minutes long. So now the universe is all aligned. Anyway. But he's super well connected. Like, he's best mates with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Jackie Chan, and an enviable guy, I reckon.
Yeah.
So a bit later, he's going to share some stories about his work with us and the people he knows, and it's great stuff. And we also have Jarrett Garn swinging by in a few minutes to talk about what's coming out on physical media this week. That segment's traveling pretty well, Like, it's on TikTok, it's getting quite a few views.
I wouldn't know anything about that. I only use TikTok to watch clips from The Big Bang Theory and The Rookie for some reason.
Well, what do you know? Like, people are actually interested in what physical media is coming out.
Oh, of course. Where else are they going to find that information at? Blu-ray.com? I don't think so.
There you go. So anyway, we also have the Boneheads. Those are 3 guys from Kentucky. They're going to come up and do their Bonehead Weekly Fun Size segment. And just before we move on, just want to give people a bit of direction where to go. GoodMovieMonday.com. That's where you go.
I thought you were going to say jump off a bridge.
Well, I say that to you every week. It's usually our party
I never
words.
do it. But one day I'm getting closer and closer to that balcony.
Don't say that. I mean, one thing will get us cancelled eventually, and who will it be? It's just
I think you have to have I think you have to have something to lose to get cancelled.
Yeah, we have nothing.
Like, we've got nothing to lose.
But yep, go to goodmoviemonday.com. Click on all the social media links there, and it'll take you to where you want to go. We've got lots of video content, bonus stuff. All the interviews that are on the show are also featured in video form, so you can check those out too. Now, before we bring Jared into the show, I want to talk to you about Evil Dead Rise. So you've seen this since we last spoke, and I want to pick your brain about it. What did you think of it? And ironically, you didn't see it before the interview on last week's show.
Look, I thought it was fine. It's an enjoyable horror movie.
Yeah.
It's no Barbarian or Black Phone. great gore and all that sort of stuff. Didn't really feel like an Evil Dead movie to me. Just
Really?
felt
See,
like a
that's-
horror movie.
That's bizarre because it did to me. It felt like a really good Evil Dead
I just
movie.
thought there was the comedy wasn't there, the slapstick wasn't there, Bruce Campbell wasn't there, and even the Necronomicon wasn't there. It was just another book. It was a book, but it wasn't the Necronomicon.
But it was one of the three from Army of Darkness.
Yeah, right.
And I mean the comedy. I mean, that's an interesting thing because like the original wasn't really as comedic as the follow-on. So this is kind of returning the franchise to the horror roots.
Yeah, right.
I've had many conversations about this movie with people, and I'm just interested to get your take on it because it's quite different to most people's.
Yeah, no, look, I thought it was fine. For me, it's instantly forgettable.
Yep, really? Not going to go back to it?
Maybe I will, but it's not going to sit there in the hierarchy of top horror films like the original three are.
Yep,
It's just a, you know.
fair enough. Well, I loved it. Interesting. That's
I mean, it was
right.
good. I mean, I hated the kids.
There was a lot of what's
Like
the
the
word
girl
for
was
it?
okay. The young girl was okay. The two girls were okay. I hated the boy.
There was a lot of I won't say virtual signaling, but there's a lot of diversity checks being struck off.
Yeah. And look,
When it
I,
came to the casting.
I didn't really care about that. It was clearly shot in New Zealand. That's fine.
Yep.
It's, if you like, was it Renaissance Pictures? Is that the Campbell,
Yeah.
the Tappet company? Like, then you just that's just the way it is, and that's fine.
New Zealand is their second home now. They shoot everything.
Yeah, I'm sure they I've been to New Zealand a couple of times on film shoots and stuff. It's a great place to shoot.
Yep.
The cast are great. The crews are great over there. The locations are great. So why not?
Well, all of Ash vs Evil Dead was shot there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to if that building really exists because it's a pretty cool building.
Yeah, that's it.
Or was it all just set?
I reckon it was all
Digital,
set.
digital art.
Possibly.
It would have to have been a set.
The cityscape, like the exterior scenes were really well shot. Like they just looked really, I guess I want to say 80s. They kind of had that Streets of Fire look to them.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that they didn't continue on with the awesomeness at the start, like the throwback cabin stuff that they threw in at the start, which for the most part I didn't like. It wasn't fantastic or anything like that. Like it was just like the replacing the drone.
Yep.
The drone thing was clever.
Yep.
But actually really liked how when she rises up out of the water and the title treatment comes up.
Fantastic title treatment.
That was great.
Yep.
But that kind of style didn't continue
No, see, here's the
throughout
interesting...
the rest of the film.
The bone to pick I have with it, and look, this is a mild spoiler, and I'll give you a couple of seconds to turn the volume down if you really, really don't want a spoiler. It doesn't give away story, but the film is...
What is there to give away in an Evil Dead film? They open the Book of the Dead.
No, well,
they bring back the Deadites.
Let me explain myself. I'm going to give
There's
away...
nothing to spoil.
Well, there is, because the film ended in a way I didn't want it to end, and if I'd have known that was coming, then I probably would have, been a bit more open to it. But
It definitely has a demons ending.
no, if I can get to my point, it's bookended by the cabin in the woods, right? It starts with a cabin in the woods and it ends with a cabin in the woods. And my problem with that being that if they're so determined to remove this series from the woods and urbanize it, which is the whole gist of this movie, why would you end it back in the woods?
Did they end it back in the woods? I thought they ended with the girl going, but
No, the whole movie ends back in the woods because it's flashback almost because it's the full circle story.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what annoyed me. It's like, why not just make this whole thing urban, city base it, and don't go back to the woods at all if you're trying so hard to actually do something different and not be what the previous ones were.
yeah. I mean, look, I just figured that it's the whole point is that the evil is spreading everywhere. So it's doesn't matter if you're in the city or in the woods.
No, that's exactly right.
It's
But we've
everywhere.
had 4 films now in the woods. Like, come on, this is a city movie. We don't need the wood stuff.
Yeah.
It felt like a real.
Well, the third one's technically in a city. It's just a medieval city
yeah, that's right.
until he goes off. But most of the stuff happens in the city there. But yeah,
small
it's,
bone of contention though. Like I love the film regardless. But yes, that opening sequence is just and the bassy sound of that rise coming out of the water was just glorious.
Which it reminds me of something, and I just can't think of what it is. But that whole vibe is really familiar. It's not the Dawn of the Dead remake, but it's something.
Well,
where there's
you've got about an hour to think about that.
I'm too old to be able to come up with an answer in an hour. This is the kind of thing that will take me in 5 days' time. I'll be on the toilet and then I'll think of it. It's just like Dragon Ninja, the old Amiga 500 game, or something equally obscure.
And this is your weekly reminder to listen to us on Newsly. Go to newsly.me, download the app. It's the best way to listen to all podcasts and to get your news articles from all around the world that are funneled into the palm of your hand to your liking. And the app reads it all back to you in a natural human voice. Newsly also have a premium service, and if you want to check that out, you get an entire month for free if you use our exclusive code, Monday without the O, MNDAY. Go to newsly.me, download it, get on it. It's the best way to listen. All right, we're at that part of the show that I love the most. So, hey, Jared, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, guys. I just want to broach something quickly. Remember how last week we were kind of concerned about the potential cancellation? Because of mainly Karen Allen pillows and things of that nature. When I listened back to this week's episode, it was almost like you really wanted us to get cancelled because it played that part twice.
I know.
I thought, oh no, I've done something with the phone, and so then I went back. And so I ended up hearing it like 4 times, even though it was only on the recording twice. But I was like, that's fantastic.
Not only does it accidentally loop the audio once in an inappropriate moment, but the second inappropriate moment is where it loops again.
Yes.
But it loops over so smoothly.
Oh, I know. It was because at one point it sounded like I cut Ben off to say something. And then I was like, hang on. No, I'm saying the same thing. I didn't cut him off. Oh, good. I don't remember doing that.
On the plus side, in the week that's gone past since we did the last show, I actually have my Karen Allen love pillow.
Woohoo!
Right here.
But you know exactly what happened there, don't you, Jared? That's where I snipped it so I could use it for TikTok, and yet accidentally left the layer there.
Oh, well, look, it's double goodness for the listeners. So, and I'm glad it wasn't at anything about the home entertainment. It was mainly just the asides. So that's the most important thing. But home entertainment news, that's obviously why I'm here. I quickly want to tell you about some news, a few titles that are coming out in the near future. June 14th, we've got Shazam, Fury of the Gods. So they're rushing this one to home entertainment. They rushed it to digital release as well, premium VOD, because the film kind of tanked at the box office. I haven't seen it yet. Look, I want to see it and I will check it out, but I'm hesitant about buying it. I'll probably just wait for it to turn up on a streamer. First one was great, but
yeah, I agree. The second one, I'm
as excited to see that as I am to see the new Flash movie.
I'm actually excited about the new Flash
I know
movie.
you are.
I will vow to see that one, and I will probably not see it. But
Which is bizarre because you really don't like that lead guy.
Oh, look, I don't like the fact that he's a questionable character, but I think he's a terrific actor.
How does everyone else get cancelled, but not him?
I don't know. He's dodging the biggest bullet. I think once the Flash releases, they can cancel him, but prior to that, Warner's just got to keep paying everybody off because they want this one to release and for it to do well.
But isn't it like it's the public and the flash mobs that cancel people? Like how is he not? It just baffles the mind.
It's crazy. It's Hollywood, baby.
I thought it's because he's uncancelable because he's
non-binary and a few other different things. Yeah. Well, it's like,
This was the episode we got cancelled.
Yeah, he's the Minority Report.
Yeah, it's a odd one. But anyway, Shazam coming out in home entertainment June 14th. Then July 5th, the Super Mario Brothers movie is hitting 4K, Blu-ray and DVD. This one's made a lot of money at the box office, like a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah. So it's great that it's coming out on 4K, and maybe I'll blind buy it on 4K to watch it. I actually will watch this.
Jack Black's Peaches song has gone to number 1 on the charts.
It's crazy, man. And you've seen this one, Glenn, yeah?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
Good.
Yeah.
I was wondering whether it just plays like a bit like exactly like the game, like a cut scene, or whether it really has.
It is certainly, it's the good kind of fan service where it acknowledges all the different games that have been played over the years, but it has a story that works. It's got characters that are likable. It's very self-referential in ways. It's just, it's clever and it's fun.
Excellent.
Is there an alternate audio track where Chris Pratt actually does an Italian accent?
Well, no. So they explain the accent in the film, like because it starts off with them with the Mario, but that's for their plumbing commercial, and
Right.
then when the cameras stop rolling, it's like, whew, in our civvies and on we go,
Makes sense. It's kind of like that Valkyrie thing that Tom Cruise did where he spoke German in the beginning and then suddenly starts speaking English. So they just
Which was copying the Hunt for Red October with
the best.
of course.
The best one where it just zooms in on the mouth and zooms back out. That's all the translation services you need.
Genius.
Beautiful. And the last one.
I'm going to try it when I'm in Europe. I'll just get really close to someone and come back out.
If you're
going to do it on the subway, because that way it's going to be harder for them to escape.
Yeah.
The last one I want to mention that's coming out on July. Oh, what's this one? July 19th. It's The Pope's Exorcist, the new film from Julius Avery with Russell Crowe. Now, Glenn, I know you went and saw this one while we were in New Zealand. What was your take on this one? Did you enjoy it?
Foxy ass. It's fucking awful.
Is it at least so awful that it's kind of good? Like you get a couple belly laughs out of it?
Talking about having a really shit accent, he maintains it all the way through the movie.
Yeah, right. Well, that was troubling in the trailer.
Yeah, that is a miracle all itself because, I think you both know how much I love a good year. But
yes.
He comes in and out of his English accent throughout the course of that film.
Well, he does in this too. Like, he can't actually maintain it. He just tries to maintain it.
Oh, he does.
He tries
to. Yeah. He tries.
But he's very funny in it. He is very funny, and he does nail the gags, but I just don't feel like the gags are really appropriate.
For the movie, yeah. It's an odd one, because if you see the marketing for the film in the US, it really drives home the horror element of the movie, whereas locally, they're really selling it on Russell Crowe. It's a really odd one because US art is almost illustrated in nature.
As you can imagine, it taps into every single Exorcist cliche that is imaginable.
Of course, I'm so over these possession exorcism movies. I thought we were done with them. We had so many of them years back, and now it looks like we're about to be inundated with them again because now we've got the Exorcist remake or prequel or sequel or whatever they want it.
Legacy sequel.
Yeah, God help us all. But anyway, this week on Home Entertainment, the first title I do want to mention is coming out from Roadshow, and it's the new Guy Ritchie movie. It's Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre, which I have not seen yet. It's only getting a Blu-ray and DVD. Glenn, you saw it and you didn't enjoy it?
No. I haven't.
None of us have seen this one. That's astonishing.
And I am so shocked with Guy Ritchie at the moment because this film came from out of nowhere after he'd just done 2 movies, right? And now he's already got another one with Jake Gyllenhaal, like a military one. Like, where are they coming from?
I watched the trailer with Ben, I think, for that one, and I was like, hang on, there's another one.
Yeah.
There was another one, and they started trailering it as this one was still, out playing theatrically. I'm just like this
what
guy
a
is
career revival.
I know, absolutely. And look, I called it first because I really dug that Aladdin live action movie.
So did I. Come on.
Okay, I'll give it to you too. Ben still hasn't seen it. Have you, Ben?
No, I've seen it. I just didn't.
It was odd because it did feel like a Guy Ritchie movie.
It totally did. It totally did. Yeah, it was an odd duck, but I enjoyed it. But yeah, that one's coming out on Blu-ray and DVD this week, courtesy of Roadshow. Then the other 4 titles that are coming out from Roadshow are all from the Warner catalog, and they are Superman 2, Superman 2, The Richard Donner Cut, Superman 3, and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, all 4K Ultra HD with a bonus Blu-ray. So if you haven't upgraded yet, it's a good incentive to buy it and then, have the 4K for later.
And hold your tongue, Ben. I haven't got a drink. We're not playing that game.
Yeah,
number 1 and number 2 are just one movie.
Oh, that old chestnut. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you've got 1 and you got 2, and then you got the Richard Donner cut at 2. So you could have 3 films become 1.
The best moment in that Richard Donner cut is the apartment scene when he's got the slick back hair and it cuts to another shot and it's all boofy.
Yeah. No, I will pick them up, but I might just wait until there's the tasty sale to grab them in. And here's the thing too, I'm going to hold out a little longer because we're going to be one of the first territories in the world to get them because they've postponed the box set in the US and the UK. That's coming out in May. So my feeling is that these discs have not been road tested yet, and they're using us as the guinea pigs. And I'm glad I haven't bought the Rockies set. You know, I've been burnt by other titles, so I'm just going to hold out and wait until.
Are they going to do Superman Returns? That's the question.
Wow, I don't know. Can you do it now? Is
You got Spacey, you got Singer.
Yeah, exactly. It's too questionable for
Am
words.
I the only
don't
person
know.
that really
Come on,
loved that
Brett.
movie?
And I think you're the only
Brand needs
person.
that cash. No,
He does. He
that
does.
was and the post of that film was all done here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
that's
shot here.
right,
It was
yeah.
shot here.
Yeah.
Like the
Oh,
Smallville was all up Victoria, up northern Victoria.
Yeah, right.
that's incredible. Yeah, right. Yeah, so I don't know at this stage. I think they're just pretending it doesn't exist for now because it's not present in the box set in the States or the UK either.
Well, I like it.
Because it
Well,
actually
that's-
is canon, isn't it? It's actually continues
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is. It was at Bridges number 2 and 3, I think. It
Yeah,
bridges
yeah,
some of the
it
sequels.
sits there. It completely ignores number 4, The Quest for Peace with John Cryer. Incredible performance. Incredible. But gentlemen, that's all I've got for you this week. So unless you've got anything you want to... Oh, actually, no, I do. I want to share one tidbit with you before I go. So I finally recorded the audio commentary the other day with Tony Martin for Houseboat Horror.
Oh my goodness! Can this be said on the show? Like, are we?
Oh, yeah. This
Yeah,
has already
okay.
been announced and that. But Tony came over. We did it here. We did it in my living room.
Oh my god!
And it was fantastic. You know, it was like literally being like a single party to a Tony Martin comedy show. Like I was having to hold back the laughs for fear of like peaking the audio too much. But it was terrific. And then he'd said to me, I think he'd looked around the living room, seen the books, seen the vinyl, and he said, "Oh, do you collect much of the physical media?" And I said, "Are you kidding?" I said, "I got a whole room of it upstairs. I'm a big fan." And I said, "Well, I'll take you up after." Anyway, so after we'd finished doing the commentary, I said, "Oh yeah, come." We were talking about Criterion, and we're talking about the upcoming release of Scorsese's After Hours. And then I said, "Oh well, come upstairs." And so then I took him in, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "Geez, my collection's probably like this bit." But then we went through the films, and he's picking out films. And Carl Reiner, after he did Summer Rental, he did Summer School, and I said, "I got both of them." And then it literally was like that. And then I think he landed upon She's, and I'm like, which She's is he looking at? Is he looking at She's Out of Control? She's the One? She's All That? And at that point in time, I kind of was like, oh no, Tony Martin's seeing all of my movies, like everything I own. This is like a first impression. So, but yeah, he was lovely. But yeah, he's a big fan of physical media and knows about all the local and international labels. So it's really exciting to.
That bastard keeps stealing all the podcast thunder, so you should get him onto ours.
Yeah, I know. I should. I've got his email, so I'll hit him up and I'll say, "How about you come on and do a bit?" You've got plenty of stuff
put us
going
on his
on.
radar.
So,
That's all I ask.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, now I think we're like brothers. He tweeted that I did my homework on the movie, which I don't know is a compliment or not. But anyway,
Did you get
I'm
him to
going to
do
take it
his
as a compliment.
Did you get him to do his REM impersonation?
No, because I think that would have cost some licensing dollars. I did ask the question though: would we ever see the Complete Late Show released in some form of like physical media? Like, could it be like kickstarted or and he said unfortunately it's pretty much all the licensing that's holding it back because the music that was used in the show. And here's one that I wish he'd said on the commentary, but he didn't. But he told me afterward was the reason that Undiscovered Masterpieces of Cinema only lasted for 4 episodes is that when the last one aired, which was Jaws the Revenge, apparently the head of Universal Pictures, but like global, was in Australia and was in a stopover in Sydney for the night and saw The Late Show on TV that night, saw Jaws, saw that they had ruined the ending of the film and shit-canned it, and basically made some calls, and that was the end. Wow. And they almost got sued. And I'm like, wow. And I was like, but the movie had been out for like 5 years. And he goes, exactly. Mind-boggling. I mean, you can get away with anything these days, but that was like 1992. But yeah, I wish he'd told that story in the commentary, but it exists here. At least it's documented all the time.
Yeah.
Because I know in 2 weeks' time, like everything, I'll probably forget it. Anyway, gentlemen, thanks for having me.
That's what we're best for, just immortalising such things. All right, mate, we'll catch
You
you
can
next
repeat that one twice on this episode for me, Glenn.
week. See you, mate.
See you guys.
Okay, so here at Good Movie Monday, we produce another podcast called Wednesday Up Late. I host that with Chloe Ritchie. It's a different kind of show to this one, but the whole gist of that show is we mostly play movie games. A lot of, I guess, what ifs and would you rather and that sort of stuff. And this week, we thought we would steal some of that show's thunder and do one of those games here, Ben. I think this was your idea to take the Fantasy Filmathon and give that a run for its money.
Yeah, I was very jealous that Chloe got to play this game and I did not.
Well, don't be too jealous. She got completely savaged on TikTok over this one, like completely pulverized. Wasn't the greatest movie marathon that she conjured. She did. Let me guess. It was Terminator 2, Saving Private Ryan, Fifth Element, and Twilight. I think Twilight's where she lost them.
Yeah, that's where you. It's a very specific part of the movie-going crowd that like Twilight. I mean, if you're going to do Twilight, then you might as well do 50 Shades of Grey, a Harry Potter movie.
And I said to her,
And,
generally speaking, movie marathons have got to be themed. And she goes, I like them all. So we're gonna do that ourselves and come up with some kind of fantasy filmathon. Movies, I guess, that we would like to see strung side by side in a movie marathon. Do you remember those classic lock-in movie marathons that the cinema complexes used to do? The kids of today are missing out.
Yeah, every time there was a long weekend, you would get one. For me, it was Hoyt's Chatston would do them. Although I think the Village down the road did them as well, but Hoyt's was always closer to me.
Village Knox City used to do them, and I used to always go to those for sure.
So yeah, I used to do them there, and it started off. I think I would have started going maybe year 9, year 8, year 9. Whenever I was tall enough to convince them that I was old enough to be in whatever movies were playing.
Yep.
There were 4 films, and then it dropped down to 3.
Yep.
Later on for some reason, but you always knew that it was interchangeable. Like it didn't matter which ticket you bought because there was no real security or gatekeeping. So you're like, well, okay, I want to watch.
Yeah, because they usually had like 2 or 3 marathons going at the same time.
Yeah. There was at Chatty there was always 4 options.
Yep.
So you just pick which, which was the first film you wanted to go and see.
Yep.
And for me, I always fell asleep during the 3rd film. For the most part. Why I didn't walk out of there with more things drawn on my face, I do not know. Because I always went with friends; they all would have known. So I think great films that I slept through would be Devil in a Blue Dress, which I talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Cutthroat Island was the 3rd film.
That's a hard one to sleep through.
Well, it's so long. You get a good sleep.
Dearie.
I'm trying to think of some of the others. Like sometimes they book weird. It was never as bad as the Astor doubles, which sometimes made absolutely no sense. Or you'd be like, there's obviously a better film that you could have paired with that. Until you learn a bit more about the distribution business and understand why they had to make those changes or those pairings. And just for everyone out there who's wondering, it's because they have to come from the same distributor. You cannot have 2 films from 2 different distributors.
Yep.
And sometimes, like a big one was, I think, for a long time, Hellraiser. Hellraiser 1 and 2, I think, were from one distributor, but 3 and 4 from another, and then all the rest were kind of all separate. So you could never actually do them properly because they would never let you split the box office unless you could individually ticket those films. You could never, you couldn't do it. And I never actually paid attention to those movie marathons that we went to, who the distributor was of any of those films, and if that's how it kind of worked.
Really interesting because we did get Matrix and Dark City like back to back, and they were like competing films. I remember at the time. Maybe they were just pulling the Swiftie. I don't know.
Just don't ask, don't tell.
Or cop the fine.
Or because I don't remember them being super expensive either. Like,
no.
$20 or something like that.
And it's just a bunch of kids at these things, and you bring your pillows and your...
Maybe they just divvied it up. They went, you just get $5 at $5 for each.
Who knows?
Film.
Glorious times, mate. Glorious times. So let's go back to those days if we were programming some of these, and where the movies come from doesn't matter. Would you like to go first, or do you want me to? I've got 2 movie marathons planned.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I'm happy to go first.
Yeah, go for it.
My first one. I was at one point I was planning a film night, a la Melbourne Horror Society.
Yep.
At Long Play. It just never really happened. But my first, and I plan to do it like a film, like month-long program. So once a week I'd do a film.
Yep.
And the first one was Sexy Beasts, was what I was going to call it.
Hang on. So that's just the name of the actual marathon.
Of this particular marathon, not the name of the
movie.
The movie night. I can't actually remember. I had it all written down in a pad somewhere, and I can't remember
cool.
what to do with it. But so this was Sexy Beasts. So all of these films involve animals or beasts and sexiness in some way, shape, or form. And I think the first one...
It's quite niche.
So the first one I had planned was... and I suppose I should actually switch the order here and actually start with a banger. So the first one is Humanoids from the Deep.
That's a banger.
It's a fantastic film, and of course it is all about horny mermen that come up from the deep and just start raping women.
Yes, and there is another movie similar to it where the women come out from the deep.
And I think there may be female humanoids as well. I can't remember.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those.
Are they blue and look like zombies? Or like Smurf people?
They look. I always thought they looked like a creature from the Black Lagoon kind of.
And they've got white
things.
eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the one you
And
mean.
they're totally gross.
Yeah.
Like
Slimy.
slimy, yeah. But it's extreme. Like the method, like the constant humping is hilarious. So let's go with that one for number one.
All right.
Then I'd follow that up with another banger, Link.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
With the horny orangutan that's constantly perving on Elizabeth Shue when she's in the shower and stuff.
Is that Terrence Stamp?
Terrence Stamp is the
Yep.
professor, and it's what's her name directed it? Richard Franklin.
Yeah, Richard Franklin. And our mate Jarrett did the commentary on
The commentary on the
Blu-ray.
disc, yeah. So then comes the sleep film. The third film is always where
You fall asleep.
where you fall asleep, and it's an interesting one. It's not a great film, but it's an interesting film. It's Tanya's Island, starring Vanity. Where the whole movie is basically her and her boyfriend end up on this secluded island for a romantic getaway, and this giant ape creature spots her, gets the horn, and she kind of falls in love with it.
Why would you fall asleep through that?
They have sexy times.
gosh.
It's a really weird movie.
They primate.
They do indeed. And then to round it all out, I thought I'd jump in with a Charles Band classic, Meridian.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, with
Is that the one with like the beast on the cover that's sort of crouched?
yeah.
Mm.
And it's basically a werewolf / Beauty and the Beast type film.
Yeah.
With now I can't remember her name. She's in Boxing Helena and the Wraith. Sherilyn Fenn.
Yep.
Sherilyn Fenn and I think it's the not the Krays, but who are the brothers that played the Krays in the Kemps? Martin Kemp. It's one of the Kemps.
Okay.
Is the guy who kind of, instead of turning into a werewolf, he turns into this other weird kind of beast. But he's in love with her and does horrible things to try and get
goodness.
her.
Are you paying attention, Chloe? This is how it's done. She's probably like, I've never heard of any of them.
There's no reason why Chloe should have heard of any of those films, except for maybe Link.
Yeah, no.
Because at least that has an A-grade cast. I think Humanoids from the Deep, is it Cameron Mitchell? It's someone of that caliber is the lead.
That's quite an unexpected marathon there. I like that. Okay, I haven't come up with a title for the actual marathon, but I guess they are all linked by summer camp. Okay, and
Very nice.
And I've gone horror comedy. So you got a bit of alleviation, right? You can decide which one you sleep through. So I start off with Piranha, 1978. Because the piranhas do go into like a summer camp environment or what do you call it? Like a summer swimming hole or whatever it is. It's a summer spot. And then I'm going to follow that up with, of course, Meatballs.
Perfect.
I just love Meatballs, and no one on earth should ever sleep through Meatballs. No, except for the coach that's on the raft that sleeps through the movie. Then I go Cheerleader Camp.
Cheerleader Camp. Very nice.
So that's I haven't watched that in a long time, but when this whole horror Bring It On came out that we were talking about with Jarrett, they used the cover for Cheerleader Camp as the promo, as the promo image. So that kind of...
My big problem with Cheerleader Camp is that, and it's not really a problem, but it's what's her name is the kind of the one that the audience identifies with. She's the mascot.
Yep. Lost it.
From Avenging Angel, and Betsy Russell.
Yep.
And there's just no way that in any world is Betsy Russell not hot enough to be one of the cheer. And they all treat her like shit because she's not quite hot enough to be a cheerleader. And you're like even though I think Raquel Darrian, who would later go on to become like a Playboy playmate and a porn star, possibly, and this is saying something, possibly the worst porn star in the world. Like she, despite the fact that she was stunning, I've never seen anyone in porn who was literally worse at the act of sex. She's terrible. Like it is so hard to watch.
Wow.
And I don't mean that in a good way. But even though all the other women are gorgeous, there's just no way that Betsy Russell isn't the equal of any of them.
Well, there we go. Well,
Have they not seen Tomboy?
well, ready for a totally Glenn.
So what was their fourth one?
Well, here's a totally Glenn thing to do. So I've gone Piranha, Meatballs, Cheerleader Camp. Ernest Goes to Camp.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You knew it was coming. It has to. It's my favourite camp movie. Or second favourite. Meatballs is my favourite camp movie. I was almost going to go Wet Hot American Summer, but I'm like, I want to keep these 80s and 70s, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I hope because you've brought that up, you're going to play the "Gee, I'm Glad It's Raining," so no one can see me cry song in the show.
What a song! We've played it on the show before.
Have we played it?
Yeah. Maybe it was in the Keith era.
It's such a banger of a song.
I mean, talk about like you've got this this lampoony sort of screwball comedy, and the mood completely shifts, and you need to grab your hankies because it's a teary moment where
they're just so down on Ernest.
Ernest is so sad.
All he wants to do is help them out, those shithead kids.
And it's almost like you can also imagine if like Kermit the Frog sung that. It's almost like one of his songs.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I just love Ernest. Anyway, who doesn't know that? All right, moving on to your next one.
All right. Well, look, I guess no, I'm not going to do that one. It was
Strike it
one
up.
on a similar note, but instead I'm just going to do because I kind of.
I mean, you've come prepared.
Because I love him, and we've been talking about like in our off air chats, we've been talking about the new imprint releases, the box sets that they've just announced.
Yep.
And one of the films is in one of the box sets is Street Fighter, a Charles Bronson film that I absolutely love. I thought I'd do it like a balls to the wall Bronson marathon.
Oh, it's almost too much Bronson.
But these are all like I feel like lesser known Bronson films.
Why does Chuck Norris have the reputation he does when there was Charles Bronson?
Pound for pound, Bronson is a far better actor than Chuck Norris ever
but you
could
don't
be.
fuck with Charles Bronson the same way you don't fuck with Chuck Norris.
No, but I think it's. I mean, Charles Bronson is a like a low rent Dirty Harry.
Oh yeah,
like in all his movies, like not low rent, but
man.
But whereas Charles Bronson is like a low rent Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee. He was always like the.
You mean the other way around?
Yeah. Well,
Chuck Norris.
Yeah, Chuck Norris. Yeah. Chuck Norris is like a. You know, I mean, he just always had the personality of a dead moth.
I know.
And that was his like I feel like zero charisma even in and I love some of the films, some of his films, they're fantastic, but when
you see some pan scan sort of or you see some some 4.3 movies that have been formatted to widescreen but they've actually compressed the image.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Charles Bronson looks like in Death Wish 5.
I was going to say that's what Chuck Norris looks like in ordinary everyday life.
No, but he's like his face got sort of weird in the end there. But anyway, moving on. I don't know what I'm talking about. Tell me about this Charles Bronson thing.
All right, so I'm going to kick it off with a banger, which I think maybe I'm the only person in the world who likes. St. Ives.
St. Ives.
Which has, as far as I know, hasn't come out on. Maybe it's come out on DVD. It's never come out on Blu-ray. It's an MGM-UA title, but I've never seen it on any list. Acquisitions list, but Charles Bronson basically plays a mystery novelist who gets caught up in a crime when he's kind of hired by a shady character to negotiate the return of some stolen documents. And he kind of, Jacqueline Bisset pops up. John Houseman is the guy that hires him. But this also has, oh, that's right, young Maximilian Schnell. But it does have a great bit where he gets accosted by punks, and very much like it's a young Jeff Goldblum as one of the young punks in Death Wish. Like before he became a career, he also is in this as one of the punks.
Right.
That I think he gets kicked in the nuts rather savagely by Charles Bronson. But Robert Englund is one of the other punks.
Oh, man. So what year was this?
It is a 76.
So is that before or after Eaten Alive? Because that's sort of as far back as I go with Robert Englund as far as youthful Robert.
That's a good question. I don't know. Like that's, I'm sure Jarrett is at home right now screaming out the year that Eaten Alive came out.
Don't you know?
But yeah, quite possibly.
So what's next on the?
So next up is Kinjete.
I don't know that one.
Forbidden Desire, I think it is. Ooh. This is one of Tarantino's favorite Bronson movies.
Okay.
And the movie, it starts off with a banger. It's Bronson. It's Bronson hanging around in Chinatown where there's this he's after this kind of gangster who's like a Chinatown overlord, and of course he's a Yakuza guy and no one was talking. And so he doesn't give a shit about the rules and he's going to take him down any way he can. But the movie starts with him going into this hotel with a suitcase, and he goes up to a room where a 16-year-old Nicole Eggert is waiting. She's like a prostitute. And he kind of goes, and he's basically going there because the guy he's tracking down is her pimp.
All right.
And she's this kind of teen prostitute. But he comes in with this suitcase, and throughout the whole scene, they're having their thing, they're having their kind of their argument, and he's, telling him he's about to kick his ass and all that sort of stuff. And then at one point, they open up the suitcase, and the only thing in there is this giant dildo. Which is just this amazing thing to have.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. But after that, this is, I guess, look, it's hard. There really is no sleep film here. Messenger of Death is my third one, which is like the opening. Once again, the opening scene of Messenger of Death, where these two hitmen come to this like isolated farmhouse and just brutally gun down this family with shotguns. Chilling.
It's great stuff.
It's great stuff. And I'll round that off with Murphy's Law.
All right.
Murphy's Law.
You're going Family of Cops then.
No. There's just not enough. There's so many Bronson films that I could have included in this list.
You know who you remind me of right now? You remind me of Clarence taking Alabama to see the Sonny Chiba Marathon in True Romance. Am I your Clarence?
Yeah,
your Alabama, I should say. You're my Clarence.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's a good strong marathon.
It's I challenge anyone to not enjoy every single one of these films, and I think I have to look up because one of the other box sets that Imprint announced was a Sidney J. Fury box set, and Sidney J. Fury towards the end of his career did a lot of work for Canon, as did Charles Bronson towards the.
He did that Expendables knockoff. I think was his last movie.
Yeah, right.
Expandables, I think it was called something.
Expendables, Jesus. I'm just trying to see. Did he do Kinjete? Because he towards the end there, his films always had this kind of weird psychosexual bent to them. He also did Ladybugs with Rodney Dangerfield. I was going to put that out there. And The Taking of Beverly Hills. What a career! Iron Eagle.
Yeah, I know. Tell
The
me about
Entity.
it. Some great
Then
films.
he also did Night of the Juggler, which is I've talked about on the show, which is fantastic. The Jazz Singer.
I know.
How's he doing the Jazz Singer after Night of the Juggler? I can't believe he did Hit. No.
I think Odd Via Vision need to throw some coin. Really spooking.
Really pushing those box sets.
All right, cool. Are you ready for me to move on to my final
Go for
movie
it.
marathon? Okay, so I'm getting nostalgic with this one. I think the late 80s and early 90s is probably the best era for thrillers. And so mine's the 90s thriller marathon. So I'm going to start off with...
Like an erotic thriller?
No. I'm going to start off with Hand That Rocks the Cradle. With Rebecca De Mornay. I love that one.
Who's the wife in that? Is it? No, she's the babysitter.
It's
Who's
not
the
Anne
wife?
Archer. It's someone like Anne Archer.
Yeah, right.
Then I'm going to follow that up with Sleeping with the Enemy
Classic. One of Jarrett's favourites.
from 91. And then I'm going to throw in Pacific Heights with
Oh, Michael Keaton and Melanie Griffith.
Matthew Modine. That's a really good one. It's an unassuming one. It hasn't got a very good sort of online rating or anything like that.
I always thought that was kind of similar to Stormy Monday, like because I remember seeing them both in the video store, and they both had Melanie Griffiths.
Yep.
Then when you watch Stormy Monday, it's a completely different kind of film. It's actually a British film.
And then also cap it off with Unlawful Entry. Just a bit of a nod to Ray Liotta there. And I don't know, there's something about all of these 90s thrillers just have the same kind of aesthetic to them. Like,
hang on. So
Hand That Rocks a Cradle.
Hand That Rocks a Cradle. Okay, so it's the Psycho Babysitter.
Yeah.
The Psycho Boyfriend.
Yep.
But then the last two, Pacific Heights and
Intruders.
and Unlawful Entry are
Psycho Neighbor.
Are intruder, like Psycho Intruders. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the last one's an intruder, but the second last one is a neighbor.
He's a neighbor. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, is he a lodger?
He's a lodger, but he's sort of illegally, he's a squatter, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I just love that era for thrillers. You can go to town on those with other ones like Fatal Attraction and Single White Female, and there's just so many great.
And what was the other one? Shattered with Greta Scacchi, because she was doing all of those ones.
Yep.
Presumed Innocent.
Yep. Oh, Presumed Innocent. Sliver. Like, there's so many good thrillers from that era. Because I don't know. We've never had an era since then that have sort of made those type of movies. Not back to back like that. But anyway, there we are.
Oh, so I got it wrong. It's not Sidney J. Fury who was doing all the Charles Bronson movies. It's J. Lee Thompson.
Oh, Jay, of course it is.
Yeah.
Well, we can't take that back. But
No,
hopefully,
it's on there. No, that's fine.
Hopefully, people have listened this far and they've found the correction.
And I think no one will know. No one's heard of any of the
In
films
fact,
I
I'll
was talking
cut
about.
this part out.
So close to real, the look, the feel, so close, and yet the paint's still wet. You keep thinking that you're really holding hands. Sorry, that's no hand. It's a knockoff, just my luck that I would look into your eyes. Then I realized they were knockoffs, so close to real. The look, the feel, so close, and yet the pain's still wet.
It's a knockoff by Sparks, and guess what? That's from the knockoff soundtrack.
The Stolen Jeans movie.
How good are Sparks? Oh, I've been getting into them a lot lately.
Disappointed that you didn't say how good is Knockoff.
Sorry.
I saw that movie theatrically.
Yeah, I did too. The Rob Schneider's in
With Rob Schneider, yeah. That's why I went. It wasn't for Van Damme. By that point, he'd already jumped the shark.
Yeah, I know, but that didn't matter.
No.
So anyway, yes. So I love Sparks, and that's my tenuous link to Mike Leeder, who we're about to throw into the interview. Like, Knockoff is the kind of movie he's probably got some kind of connection to, and you'll find out in a moment. He's got connections to nearly everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yes, Sparks. But actually, here we go. The director of Knockoff made Once Upon a Time in China and Seven Swords and about 50 other movies. Mike Leeder is in one of the Once Upon a Time in China movies.
Is he in the one where they come to America?
I
Once
don't
Upon a Time in
He
China and
plays-
America?
He plays the the suave referee. Like, he's a dapper kind of referee wearing a vest and a sort of swirly mustache. Anyway, whatever. If you just look up Mike Leeder and Once Upon a Time in China, you'll see the image. But, oh no, it was actually Fearless. It's a whole nother movie. Fuck it, we'll forget about that. Mike Leeder. I don't really need to introduce this guy. Let's officially jump into it and ask you some questions and pick your brain if you don't mind. So, first and foremost, thank you for joining us, Mike. It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
You're too kind. I'm a horrible person. I'm not deserving of any of this.
You know what? You're a jack of all trades, because a simple online search cites your repertoire as a casting director, consultant, stuntman, producer, you name it. Which one of these best describes what you do on a day-to-day basis?
It's going to sound really cheesy. It depends on the day.
I suspected that.
No, I mean, the thing in Hong Kong, the good thing of Hong Kong is that you often get a chance to do more than one thing, because they'll be like, hey, do you want to do this? And I was trying to explain to someone a couple of years ago, I was going, to me as well, it's the thing of, the more I can do, the more reason I have to be around. Yeah. Like a friend of mine we were doing, there's an actress in Singapore, Pamela Chi, and she knows me as a casting director. And then she went off and worked on like Beyond Skyline. And she was like, Mike, why do all the stunt guys have pictures and video of you like hanging off of cars and doing all this stuff? And I was like, because I'm not always a casting director. But no, I mean, I would say probably casting director and consultant most of the time. I get hurt doing stunts these days. It's like, and I mean, like on Abduction, I managed to crack my sternum with my chin. It was that terrible thing of an actor, Andy On, is doing like a jumping back kick to me, and everyone's going, yeah, Mike, and then when you go down, make sure you tuck your head. And I tucked my head with so much power, I cracked my sternum. And I was, and of course, the best thing about that is they can't fix it. They just have to let it heal. And for about 6 to 8 weeks, such strenuous activity as breathing, turning your head, coughing, results in pain. So it's I'm getting old. I prefer not to be getting blown up these days. Yeah.
I am really curious though. How did this whole Hong Kong thing start for you? Because you're like clearly by your accent, you're UK born and bred, and I mean I guess at that time, Hong Kong was part of the UK.
Yeah, the funny thing is, when I go back to the UK, people ask me where I'm from. I'm like, I'm from here. Oh, you're from South Africa? You're from here? I'm like, no, I'm from Croydon. I was very much a movie fan, and then loved action movies, loved Hong Kong movies, loved horror movies, science fiction movies, but I had a real passion for like Hong Kong film and martial arts film. And in the late 80s, there was a lot of white guys popping up in Hong Kong film, and I was thinking, maybe I could be one of those white guys. You know, it's like, I could get hit by someone. I could do that. And then I was working in a department store at the time, and I was bored shitless. And I kept thinking about, I should go to Hong Kong. Yeah, I should go to Hong Kong. And then I finally one day was like, I went out for lunch and I saw the price of flights and went, I'm going to Hong Kong. And I came back and was like, I'm taking a leave of absence. I'm going to Hong Kong for a couple of weeks. And that was 33 years ago. And
are they still waiting for you to come back at that department?
well, the funny thing is, for about 27 years, yes. For about 27 years, they would send me a letter, dear Mr. Leeder, we're still holding you. And I was always like, there's a backup. If all goes wrong, I can go back and sell lights again in a department store. And then they went bankrupt. So I was like, damn, I'm screwed. But no, it was just a case of, so I will be permanent. I did no preparation before I came. Like, my brain was like, Hong Kong is a British colony. Says here, 2 languages, English and Cantonese. Okay, I can get by on that. And jumped on a plane to Hong Kong. So thinking I'd probably be here for a couple of weeks, and my brain was thinking, if I'm lucky, maybe I'll get to see a movie being shot. And if I'm really lucky, maybe I could get to be an extra. And then jumped on a plane, arrived, and as stupid and cliche as it sounds, I fell in love with the place immediately. I just got off the plane and was like, this is cool. This is fantastic. And then within about 2 minutes realized, the level of English in Hong Kong is not what I think it is. I may have to work on the other language too. And then jumped in a taxi, got to a hotel, checked in, and then literally the next day, somebody walking past the hotel when I was coming up was like, hey, you want to be in a movie? You want to be in a commercial? And I was like, okay. And
was that in English?
Yeah, it was just, and it was, the first job was a commercial for kind of like a Chinese version of Pepto-Bismol. Like, and I got paid the princely sum of about £50, and it's still on TV because there's no residuals in Hong Kong. There's no, so like, but it was fun. And then it was at the time, it said there was like 400 movies a year being made, and it was just fun. So I started working on movies. Was perfectly honest that I'm not a great martial artist. I don't train. I'm a lazy fucker. And part of me regrets that because I was like, I had the chance to train with a lot of really good people, but I was just crap. And the funny thing is, one of my first friends here was an American wushu guy called Jeff Falcon from Six String Samurai, everything. And a lot of the other Westerners here were like, oh, Jeff's not a good guy. He's very standoffish. And I was like, no, he studied to be like a wushu coach. So he would point out if you did something wrong. Yeah. So he'd be like, Glenn, that was really good until you landed on your face. And for me, I was like, if he'd tell me my kicks were shit, I'm like, yeah, I know. Whereas everyone else was like, how dare you say that? And then
not the first time I've had that direction either.
Exactly. And then just it kind of rolled from there, and then started working behind the scenes because I realized that I look far better off camera, and then just kind of rolled from there. And I said 33 years later, I'm still here. Yeah.
Well, that's a fantastic place for us to lay some context here for people that are listening that may not know your work. Some titles you've worked on include Rogue One, Man with the Iron Fist, Rush Hour 3, Man from Tai Chi, just to name a few. And you've worked on several Australian productions, I should say. Goldstone, Saragon Road, Baz Luhrmann's Australia. Where did the Aussie connection come in with half of those?
What it's really funny is I have family in Australia who I've never met. Like, even my family in England were like, well, you're in Hong Kong. It's just, I was like, it's another 12 hours. Yeah, it's like another,
It's the halfway point.
yeah. And I've always been like, yeah, I should fly over and meet them. And then I never have. Much to their annoyance, I've been in Australia several times and not called them.
They're big fans of Good Movie Monday, so they're probably listening. Just say hi.
Oh, well, damn. In that case, dear Uncle Dougie, really sorry. I've been meaning to get over. We'll catch up soon. No, basically, there's always been a Hong Kong-Australia connection. Like, there's always been, like from Brian Trenchard Smith doing like a Man from Hong Kong and everything. There's always been a connection with Hong Kong.
And Jackie Chan was always over here doing stuff.
I mean, Jackie is an Australian citizen. Yeah. In Australia, he's Paul Chan.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But basically, and then I think I'd been here about 2 or 3 years, and I met someone, no, actually less. Yeah, that was my second year here. I met an Australian martial artist and stunt guy called Mike Miller, who became one of my closest friends. He's probably best known. He's the villain in Jean-Claude Van Damme's Knockoff, the guy with the glasses who's coughing and everything. And I met him in a very bizarre way. I was in a bar having an argument with my girlfriend at the time, and I went outside to smoke a cigarette, and I see this white guy standing there, and he's wearing these sunglasses that Jackie Chan used to wear. And the only person in the world who ever looked good wearing these sunglasses is Jackie Chan, because they like cover his entire face. You know? And I just walked up to this guy and went, "You're not Jackie Chan, you know," and snapped his sunglasses and stormed away. And I forgot about it. And then like 2 or 3 days later, we're on the set of Once Upon a Time in China Part 2. And there's a whole bunch of Westerners there and everything. And I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you." And this guy's like, "We've met already." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You broke my sunglasses." I was like, "Oh, shit, I'm sorry, man." And then we got chatting and we were kind of getting along. And then he immediately made an impression on me because they said, "Look, we need somebody to get shot with an arrow, and we'll pay $50 extra to whoever does it, a Westerner." So Mike Miller jumps up and says he'll do it, and I think all of us, including him, thought it's either going to be the arrows on a wire or the arrows on a ratchet and it's just going to pop up. No, they gave him a jacket with a piece of wood in it. And to prove it would work, they fired at a Chinese stuntman first. And then they set fire to the arrow and fired it into Mike's chest. That's what. So if you watch Once Upon a Time in China 2, you'll see there's a scene where like Jet Li's at a medical college with Dr. Sun Yat-sen for some reason, and a Western guy comes down and they start talking about reflex action, and then Mike gets hit by an arrow, and I was like, he's a cool dude. And then we all started kind of like hanging out, and then God, I think Mike was my flatmate for about 4 or 5 years. And the same thing, huge action movie fan, Hong Kong movie fan. And we were just very young guys in Hong Kong getting up to no good. That's the best way to say it.
So talking about stunt work like that, I just want to sort of just off the cuff, to our listeners, if you want to see some of Mike's action work at play really quickly, just Google Pound of Flesh. One of the greatest images online is you getting headlocked by Jean-Claude Van Damme while he's doing the splits. It's hilarious.
Well, the funny thing of that was like how to say, I wasn't aware I was going to get hit for real until I got hit for real. And
It's
that
a
was
control
during-
kick. It's a control
and that
kick.
was no. It was basically I brought in the fight choreographer John Salvetti, who's from Donnie Yen's team, and John I'd met on probably my second or third day in Hong Kong just by accident. I met him, Donnie Yen, and Michael Woods, and we just kept touching. And me and John always joked about it that we'd known each other for 25 years before we worked together. So I brought him in, and John is an incredibly passionate martial artist. John is all about the fight. The funny thing is, he's a florist, so but he's all about the fight and the passion, and like, Glenn, I'm going to punch you in the head really hard, but it's going to be a great shot. And then Ben, you're going to kick me in the face really hard, and it'll be awesome. And we planned the fight, and then I'm sitting in the car, and we're just doing a run through, and John hit me in the face. I was like, I think he hit me and he didn't realize,
Yeah.
And then we went through the rest of the choreography, and then he's like, I was like, yeah, John, just so you know, you hit me in the face. He went, yeah, that's part of the choreography. And I was like, okay. And then, it was that thing of like, okay, I'm one of the producers. Do I turn into a diva here and make a fuss? No, I'll go along with it. And also, same thing. I'm getting to fight Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's
It's a great scene.
So, and so we end up shooting the scene, and of course, the funny thing is, John has brought a couple of real MMA guys over from Australia, bizarrely as well, to want to get into film. And for these MMA guys, it was this real eye-opener of like, wait a minute, you're getting hit again and again and again. And you can't block the punch, and you can't avoid it. And it's not just a 2-minute round. It's, okay, take 17 of getting punched in the head and knowing it's coming. But, So, no. I mean, that scene was, to put it nicely, painful. Because like when Jean-Claude's hanging off me, there is no rig, there is no support artist. It's him choking me out as he does so. I think it was amusing for Jean-Claude because he wanted to punch and kick me at various times over the years, so he could get away with it. But
that's always been the joke with Jean-Claude Van Damme, was that he does actually kick and punch people. And then afterwards, he's like, no, it's a control kick. I knew exactly what I was doing. And they're like, you kicked me.
That kind of puts me in a hard thing because he's done it to me a few times where he'll be like, and you're like, dude, you just got me. And you're like,
I was planning to end this conversation with this, but I may as well jump in now because I was going to say one of the things you do best that I love most about you is you call out people that send you dickhead emails. You don't necessarily name them, but you actually you talk about what has happened, and that's hilarious.
No, because the thing is, how to say, I love social media. Like I'm, Facebook, everything. It's great, but I think the problem is a lot of people seem to have lost how to communicate. Yeah. Like, you don't go
or their grip on reality.
Yeah, you don't go to a job interview and just be, give me a job. Well, what are your qualifications? No, man, just give me a chance. I'm great.
Yeah, I know I could be good.
But I get people message me like that, and it frustrates me because sometimes I'm like, okay, people don't know better. They're new to the industry or they're trying. But then sometimes the thing is, you try and help people, and you realize this whole me thing. Like, I did one of the Resident Evil movies. I did the one with Ada Wong with Lee Bingbing. Trying to remember the name, which one it was. But the funny thing was, when they were doing the last Paul Anderson Resident Evil, IMDb for some reason had me listed as the casting director. So people would submit their materials to me, and I'd be like, I'd try and be nice and be like, hey Ben, hey Glenn, thanks for sending me your materials. I'm not actually working on this movie. You should reach out to Impact Pictures or Constantine for producing it. And I would say maybe 2% of people said thank you, but probably about 75% of people were like, well, who at Impact Pictures should I talk to? Who at Constantine Pictures? Like, you're like, can't you forward my materials? And I was like, I'm not working on the movie.
Well, look, to be honest with you, though, like when you do it, like it's always what not to do. It's a bit of a tutorial for people.
Yeah,
so,
and the funny thing is now I go, okay, guys, I've been ranting about it long enough. Surely.
This is a great place for me to pivot the conversation now, because I was one of those dickheads that sent you a script many years ago for my Kickboxer 6 script, but that was on the advice of Albert Pune. He sent me to you for that script. I don't know why.
Okay, if Albert Pune sent Satan my way, I would give them the time of day, because Albert, God bless him, I loved Albert and I miss him very much. He was.
Let's quickly talk about Albert. We both share a very, very strong love for the man. Where does your story begin with him? How did you first become acquainted? Yeah, of course.
I was initially attracted by Kathleen Bella's heaving bosom, but I was like, wait a minute, there's something cool with this movie, like tri-blade swords and Richard Lynch being a bad guy, and I was like, isn't that Matt Houston being the hero? And wait a minute, that's the guy from Street Hawk, and hey, that's the guy from like that's Red Brown. I know, I
in the heaving bosom.
Yeah, exactly. If I ever meet Thomas Dolby, I will fall at his feet. I shaved my head hoping she would mistake us for each other. Yeah. But no, like I saw The Sword and the Sorcerer, really loved it, and then I don't think in England we got the Journey to the Center of the Earth movie or Down Twisted. I don't think we got them. And then, of course, I saw Cyborg and I was like, fucking hell, this movie's awesome. Yeah. Like a lot of people at the time, I think, were confused because it wasn't Bloodsport or Kickboxer. Like I think everyone was expecting, like, wait a minute, why isn't he in an underground tournament? What's going on? And then I remember, what was it? There used to be a cinema in London on Tottenham Court Road, and it used to show 5 movies a day, just so they could put UK cinema release. So it would show, Cyborg at 12:30, Kickboxer at 2:30. Yeah, just so they go, UK cinema release, put it on the VHS box, it will sell for you more. And I think I saw Captain America or Kickboxer just before Kickboxer 2, just before I came to Hong Kong.
Yep.
And it was Kickboxer 2, and I really love Kickboxer 2.
That's my favorite Albert Pune film. It is, and it's my favorite in the franchise.
Exactly, and like Dennis Chan, who plays Marcy, is a very good friend of mine, and I love the me and there's a UK director, Ross Boyask, and both of us always like, why is there no soundtrack? Like, why can we not get an official version of My Brother's Eyes? And then when I arrived in Hong Kong, I remember seeing Captain America and going, I'd read about it and got all excited, because I remember reading about it and going, wow, this sounds cool, and I saw the movie and was like, okay, I don't know much about movie making, but something was going on this movie. And then, like, Nemesis got a cinema release in Hong Kong, so it was great to be able to see Nemesis on the big screen in like a grindhouse cinema. And then we got the news that Albert Pune was in Hong Kong. He was coming to do a movie. So we all went to audition, and said at the time I was a skinny young lad and I had a mullet. So I auditioned for the role of the Cockney hitman, like, there's a bounty out on you, mate. And that was probably the quality of my acting. So Albert went, no. But he was quite bemused that I knew who he was. And he was like, wow, you actually know my stuff? Like, oh, that's cool. And I was going, oh my God, it's Tim Thomas, and oh my God, it's Brian James. Oh, blah, blah, blah. So he was like, you can come and hang out on set if you want. and I hung out on set, and just we formed a friendship. And he was just, if Albert had a flaw, it was he loved film too much.
Yeah,
You know, like, because Albert would sell his house to finish a movie. Albert would go, okay, well, if you let me finish the movie, I'll give up all my residuals, I'll give up all my rights. And the recent Shout Factory Sword and Sorcerer, if you listen to the audio commentary, I think it's John Charles and Albert Pyun, and it's a really good commentary, but it's really because a couple of times Albert breaks down, and you can understand the passion where he's like, I'm on a movie, I'm directing a movie, and they're going, just to let you know, Mr. Director, there's another director here if we think you're crap.
Yeah.
And we could replace you at any moment. And I think that's the problem that Albert, like, when he did Hong Kong 97, he had the money to do Hong Kong 97 and Heat Seeker. And then he made Spitfire at the same time.
Yeah.
And like Blood Match. Oh, we've finished Kickboxer 2. Oh, wait a minute, we've got the LA Sports Center for a couple more days.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, let's make another movie. And like I want to remake Blood Match because I go, the movie is bad, but the concept is so cool. It's Saw in the martial arts world.
Well, we were just, Ben and I last week were talking to Tom Matthews about that film, and he said that's one of the hardest films he's had to work on. Even though it was like such a short, put together kind of thing, he goes, it was so exhausting to make it in such a turnaround.
Well, I mean, I remember talking to Benny Akitas, and Benny said the scene where he fights, they had no time to choreograph, so he was like, I'm just going to bring in one of my students and basically beat the shit out of him. Because he was like, Albert, there's no time to choreograph. Fucking hell, okay. Like Matthias Hughes and like Kickboxer, like Matthias always tells me his big regret was he refused to cut his hair so Albert wouldn't hire him in Nemesis. Like Albert wanted him for a role in Nemesis, and Matthias loves his blonde locks and was like, no, I'm not
going to say, why would you want Matthias Hughes without his long hair?
No, exactly. Matthias is a god. Matthias, same thing. Like, I the first time I ever met Matthias Hughes, I was in LA, and he drove past in a convertible with 2 Afghan hounds that had the same hair. And this is awesome. This is Hollywood. You
know what? Big Mike.
Albert Pyun is just Albert. How to say? There's one YouTube channel who I wasn't a big fan of, but I now hate because shortly before Albert died, him and another director decided to just do a let's talk shit about Albert Pyun video cast. And no, Albert was just, I love it. I miss him so much. Because
our podcast may
now I'm going to have to dig out your Kickboxer 6 script.
Yeah, I'll resend it.
Please do, 'cause
I even brought Mark Dacascos back.
Yeah, because the funny thing is, we nearly did another Kickboxer movie called City of Blood that we were putting together.
I remember I did the poster for it.
Yeah, and like for that, like I was actually with the Chinese producer for that last night, and and what I liked was it was a Kickboxer movie that skirted the rights.
That's what.
So basically, yeah.
Thank you.
So basically, David Sloan is only revealed to be David Sloan at the very end because Master Cien turns up.
Yes. Oh, you need to read mine because I put David Sloan in exile. He was, anyway. That's another story. You know what? We could do a whole podcast listening to your stories, but we actually do have to wrap it up.
It's just like I said. It's just with Albert. Like we were so close to getting that Kickboxer movie going. I think what's frustrating for me is like Albert's former producing partner was Tom Karnowski, and Tom is incredible. Like, just if you listen to Tom's stories about things like Captain America, where he's like, "Yeah, we had no money," and I would get told by someone at Canon, "Oh, go to Hungary and meet Glenn at Budapest train station, and he'll give you $50,000 he owes us." And Tom would leave, and then Tom would come back and go, Glenn didn't give me $50,000. Glenn stole my briefcase and my watch. You know,
yes.
you know, and the thing is, what people get is like, they made Captain America under such insane conditions.
Yeah.
Like Tom now produces movies like, Die Hard, Die Hard 4,
Yep.
like movies, everything. And Tom was like, that's how I learned to deal with things, how to like, okay, how are we going to fix this problem? And I just wish Albert had like more of a support network around him, because I think the problem is, because Albert was so nice, sometimes there was a lot of people who were like, oh yeah, Albert, put me in your movie. Albert, do this for me. Albert, do that for me. As opposed to people going, hey, Albert, what can we do to help you?
Yeah. He was taken advantage of a lot. A lot.
And that really frustrated me. Albert is a genius, and I miss him very much.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it better myself. But thank you so much for sitting in with us for this time. Like, we could listen to your stories forever, and I'm sure there's a whole podcast to be made of that. But
I mean, as it, like, let me know. I mean, if I apologize if I waffled about.
No, like, you are full of stories. You are full of connections. It's just amazing to listen to, but we do appreciate
the problem is, I have to wait for some people to die before I can write a book. It's like, but no, I mean, the thing is, and this is going to sound really cheesy, is like, one of the things that I do love about social media is, social media has allowed us all to keep in touch.
Yeah.
I'm very upset because I want to see all the physical media behind Ben's head.
Yeah, it's all VHS. It's all VHS.
Yeah. Oh, but see, the problem in Hong Kong is because of the humidity, VHS goes moldy.
Well, you know what? Like, I'm devastated right now because usually behind me it's the same but DVD Blu-ray, but I'm moving office and house at the moment, so it's empty. So yeah.
No, I'm actually re-racking my office and my bedroom and everything, which is why I have the black background, because it's just a mess.
Well, that was very smart of you, because I should do the same. There we go. Better late than never. But we do have to wrap. We do have to wrap it up now, mate.
But as I said, gentlemen, a pleasure. Anything I can do for you, if you need picks or anything or whatever, just give us a shout.
Welcome to Bonehead Weekly Fun Size. And this week we're talking fighting movies. Well, martial art films. So, my favorite martial arts movie.
I know Kung Fu.
No, you don't. No, you don't. My favorite martial arts film is Big Trouble in Little China, directed by John Carpenter. The reason being is because it really got me into what martial arts was. I didn't know that much about it. Living in the holler, we just had regular fighting with the meth and the Mountain Dew and whatnot. But Big Trouble in Little China introduced me to Kung Fu, really. I don't know about you two, but where did you learn about it before that?
The one I was going to talk about, now technically this was released as a film, but it's really a glorified TV. It became a TV series, but it was released as a film in some places. And what better place to learn about martial arts than by watching someone that's world renowned for his martial arts ability? And that's, of course, Lee Van Cleef.
Well,
the master. I learned from the master.
That
Joe.
only lasted one season. I didn't even know that existed till a year or two ago when he was only on Johnny Carson one time before his death, talking about the master and that show. And I had to look it up, and it only lasted one season. I'd never heard of it.
It was mocked on Mystery Science Theater 3000 where they did release it, but I figured the show had some great people in it, including your hero, Clu Gallagher. So, Master Ninja.
Clu Gallagher, but yeah. All right.
No, they couldn't afford him. They got Clu Gallagher. He broke a watermelon.
Chad.
So to answer your question, Joe, I mean, Big Trouble in Little China is definitely up there with movies that introduced me to martial arts. But, honestly, I was watching Chuck Norris films since I was wee little.
I swear I don't remember. I mean, maybe Firewalker and a couple of other things, but and I really didn't watch Kung Fu,
Yeah.
Legend continues. I didn't really, wasn't something in my house. My dad thought all that was stupid.
Yeah, but for my pick, and it's hard because martial art films is one of those movies that has a personal tie to me just because I've always loved them. But honestly, I gotta go with a tried and true classic. I've got to go Jackie Chan's Police Story.
Okay.
That's good.
I love that movie. I mean, I didn't see it till later on too. I mean, my introduction to Jackie Chan was Rumble in the Bronx.
Yeah.
That's good too.
But Police Story, when I watched it, it amazed me at everything Jackie Chan did, and it made me respect him not only as an actor but as a stuntman too. It's just amazing. I can't tell you enough about how much I love Police Story. I've watched it so many times in the last few years.
Now that I said Big Trouble in Little China, two of my actual favorite ones are The Raid and The Raid and Redemption.
Yeah.
Check them out if you haven't. They're just fun. I need to watch them on the new big TV. All right. This has been Bonehead Weekly Fun Size. You guys can fight it out later. Ben and what's the other one's name?
Glenn.
There you go. Bonehead.
Gallagher.
Subscribe.
Oh, I should have said it's really Cleo.
Yeah, that's true. She's the purdy one.
Well, I mean, that was pretty convenient of the Boneheads to throw in a martial arts segment, given the conversation and given the fact that they pre-recorded that long before we hit the mic. Just worked out nicely, I think.
Yeah.
And what's with Joe flirting with Chloe? I don't know what that's all about, but
He usually flirts with me.
I know. You're feeling a bit insecure right now? I would be.
Maybe I just don't look as good as I used to.
Hey, we're a movie show, and we like to talk about movies, and every single week we like to recommend movies. So we're going to do that right now. So on one hand, I hope this has inspired people to hunt these movies down and check them out, for yourselves. But on the other hand, we know you probably won't. So this segment, could
If
go.
you do, jump on social media. We're on all the platforms. Let us know.
Let us know. I mean, do we do this for a reason other than self-gratification?
I 100% think it's self-gratification.
All right, so I'm going to kick it off, and I'm going to go with... I mean, this is the thing. Like, we've inadvertently created a theme on this episode because the Boneheads have gone martial arts. We've had Mike Leeder. We've kind of talked about all these fight movies. So I've gone away from that completely.
I thought you magically had one.
No, I kind of wish I was back on theme, but I'm not. I went with 1998's The Interview with Tony Martin and Hugo Weaving.
Oh, but not the good Tony Martin, the other Tony.
The other
Martin.
Tony Martin, the E Street Tony Martin.
Dramatic, yeah, Father Bob or whatever his name is. Not the one who's died. But
No.
yeah, I think he was Father Bob on E Street as
He
well.
was a father somebody. Yes, I think you're right. And Michael,
But then he had to give up his robes because he just couldn't help but wanting to bang Penny Cook.
and Michael Caton is in this one too. But I love this movie. This was one of my favourite Australian films for a very long time. Probably still is, but I once upon a time held this in the highest regard. Like, Aussie movies don't get any better. It's fantastic. It's about a guy played by Hugo Weaving who's picked up by the cops in a rather manhandled, violent kind of way, and he's not told why, and he's dragged off to the station and thrown into a interrogation room. And the entire movie practically takes place inside this interrogation room, and they're questioning him about a stolen car, and they're going a bit overboard for a stolen car, and so then it becomes a game of wits. They're trying to get something out of him. He's on to them. So he's playing the funny games back. And you don't know who's in the right and who's in the wrong all the way through this movie. You don't know if he's guilty or innocent all the way through the movie. And just the way it's shot is very film noir. And that's what I really dig from this. There's lots of weird camera angles from above the desk and a lot of those, where the cops go outside and they collude in the corridor, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you get the what do you call it? The internal affairs start coming into it, and it just becomes very classic in its tone. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about it. What I do want to add though is that it was directed by Craig Monahan, who's only ever made two other movies. He made Peaches with Hugo Weaving and Healing, also with Hugo Weaving. And that's the one about the eagle and the prisoner that form a bond. Did you ever see that one?
The Birdman of Alcatraz. No, I don't know.
I think you said that last time I mentioned it.
It's actually Escape from Alcatraz is when he has Shawshank?
Yeah,
Shawshank, he's got the bird.
Yeah.
In Escape from Alcatraz, he's got the mouse.
Yeah, well, in Healing, he's got a hawk or an eagle.
He's got a hawk,
But what I'm getting at is Craig Monahan has a brand new one coming out called The Removalist, and it's got Brian Brown, Abby Cornish, Caroline Goodall, and it was written by David Williamson. So
No Hugo Weaving?
not that I can see.
Well, I'm not going to go see it then.
Fuck that.
He's ruined it.
So catch the interview. I don't know where it is. It's probably on a platform somewhere. I do have the DVD, and that's what I watch. But find it.
Find it. Check it out.
there. Because as I said at the start,
It was
we know
actually.
you do.
It was actually. I remember at the time, the big thing about it was that this is how to make a film on a budget.
Yep.
Because it was one location, yet it still managed to convey tension.
Yep. It's got so much going for it, and like you said, just all at a table basically.
Yeah. And it put Tony Martin on the map too.
Yeah,
not as much as Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving's phenomenal,
but Hugo Weaving kind of.
And I must say, if
you Priscilla in the Matrix.
If you are keen on this one and you check it out, there's two cuts. There's a director's cut which has an alternative ending, and the theatrical. Go the theatrical all the way. The ending is so much better on the theatrical. I just think they go too far.
It's odd that on an indie film, do you think that they took it away from the director and said, no, this is the ending?
I don't know. I'll tell you off the mic what the ending is, because I don't want to give that away here, because it's something that you don't want to know. I just think they give you too much information in the director's cut. So anyway, there you go, my recommendation, The Interview 1998. What do you got?
Well, look, I did have, funnily enough, a martial arts. Well, it's a big, long.
You all in on this, and I'm fucking on
stretch.
I've been left out.
The genre martial arts, but instead, I was just going through the filmography of J. Lee Thompson, and so I feel like I should just recommend this man's entire filmography. Because he started off, he's a British director, but he started early on. He was doing things like Yield to the Night and Ice Cold and Alex, and Guns of Navarone, Cape Fear, Taras Bulba, and then Eye of the Devil, which we ripped off for a Monster Fest trailer one year, which is a fantastic film. McKenna's Gold, but then Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. I'm just going, they're all winners. Battle for the Planet of the Apes, but then St. Ives, White Buffalo.
Ben is mid-nerdgasm right now.
The Passage,
Listen
which
to
is
him
great.
go.
Cabo Blanco, Happy Birthday to Me, 10 to Midnight, The Evil That Men Do, once again with Bronson, King Solomon's Mines.
There are so many of these directors, right, that have made all of these great movies, and they just don't get the recognition.
They don't get the recognition. But look, Firewalker.
Like, you have someone like John Carpenter, deservedly has this great reputation for being a master, but also half of his movies aren't that great. When you got a guy like...
You can get into a street fight for saying something like that. But,
let's just say In the Mouth of Madness onwards, not so great. Or
I loved In the Mouth of Madness.
No, from there onwards. Anyway.
The only one I haven't seen... Or I don't know. Ghost of Mars is excellent. I don't know what you're talking about.
Excellent to someone like you and I. I'm talking about the general movie-going audience.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that Mandy Lane. Is it all aboard?
No, that's not his. You're talking about the Ward.
The Ward.
Yeah,
that one.
Pretty average.
Isn't that with shits on the bed?
Yep, it certainly is. In the asylum. On the ward.
That's where she picked it up from. She said, no, they throw it there. They also throw it. But yeah, look, you could do a lot worse than just pumping J. Lee Thompson's name into, probably, I'm assuming that most of these are going to be on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Because Prime is the home of the
wherever you pump his name
catalog.
into, you will get a handful of doozies.
You notice that that's the biggest problem with all of the streaming services, bar Amazon Prime, is that they don't have anything made like pre-2000.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a huge film, unless it's like an Oscar winner or a cult classic.
Yeah.
They just...
Well, at work the other day, we were doing the stats on like the number of films, say, Netflix have at any given moment in time. And it's like, in our circle, the average movie collection is far greater.
Yeah.
Like, our personal collections have far more movies and,
Yeah, and just like in our personal collections, you'll look for something to watch, you can't find any.
That's all right.
But that is look, I was thinking about it on the drive here. I was listening to a couple of a podcast about Netflix and the problems at Netflix.
You listen to other podcasts?
Yeah.
I feel so hurt.
I mainly listen to ones about Hollywood, about the kind of the business side of Hollywood.
Yeah, sure.
And I was listening to this one called The Town, where they talk about how a couple of years ago there was the big Netflix bust, where for the first time they lost subscribers.
Yep.
And then they decided to bring in things like stopping password sharing and bringing the advertising tier in the US.
Yeah.
I don't think that's made it here yet. I haven't had a look. But I just couldn't help but think how disappointing all of the streaming services are.
Yeah.
And and that's right. Prior to that, I was listening to The Business where they were replaying the Emily the Criminal episode with the director and Aubrey Plaza, and they were talking about how they went to Sundance and they were holding off. They got the budget for the film by leveraging foreign pre-sales, but they were holding off on American sale until Sundance to try and get. And they said that not a streaming service didn't approach them. And they were talking about Apple. Apple came to Sundance with $20 million to spend, but they only wanted to spend it on one film because that's a marketing point. Rather than spending it on 5 films, they wanted to blow it all on one. So then there's a story of of Apple spent $20 million on some piece of shit film that literally you can only watch those things. You're only going to watch them once during the time of your Apple subscription.
Tom Hanks ones or something, because he's been doing a couple of Apple TV
something
movies.
Like that, some shit.
Or Coda,
the
one that won the Oscar.
And it is every time you see that Netflix original, Stan original,
it's not.
It's not original. They've just bought it. They bought it worldwide,
and they're the only ones that have put it out. Yeah, as opposed to produced it in house.
And they can't. Half the time they can't even buy it because look. This is another problem going a bit deep down the rabbit hole. But a lot of independent labels and stuff, they will pre-buy a film based on the script, and that's how a big way the film gets its budget.
Yep.
Then Netflix will come along and say, we want to buy this worldwide, and so the producers then have to go back and pay back the money from the foreign distributors and sometimes the American distributors, and it's causing them all these problems because at one point the film would go on to Sundance, get rave reviews, then they would release it and they'd make money, they would have a breakout hit. But because Netflix are buying worldwide rights, which is a much bigger sale than just the American rights, it's causing them all sorts of problems. And so all of these, Miramax level, back in the day Miramax, but, Focus, Fine Line, New Line, all of those kind of, they just can't, compete.
The only streaming service I genuinely get a lot of pleasure out of is Tubi.
Yeah, right.
It's got a deep dive of old stuff. I get.
And American Tubi is even better.
Yeah, exactly.
But the TV, some of the TV shows, but a lot of the stuff I found, it's impossible to find. But 90% of what's on Tubi is also on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
you just have to actually know it's there. Whereas Tubi has
sort of curates it a bit more,
or doesn't have as much stuff. Tubi doesn't have an angle they're pushing because they haven't paid $20 million for
but they do
the
have
Kissing Booth 3 or whatever.
They do have a full moon section, and that's all I need to know.
Which but Prime actually has a full moon channel.
Yeah, that's true.
Which you can pay $6.99 a month for. Who's paying $6.99 just to watch full moon? You do it in a month.
Yeah, I did pay for the subscription to the Troma TV.
Yeah, Troma were doing it. I found it amusing that Troma were doing that because Troma were one of the first studios, I guess you'd call Troma, to put all their stuff up for free on YouTube.
Yeah, I know, but they quickly pulled that down as soon as they cottoned onto this subscription stuff.
Because at the time it was all advertising revenue, and if you could get up to 3, 4, especially in those early days, 3-4 million subscribers, then you would you're rolling in the bank, and YouTube were paying you.
Yeah. You know what they say, Ben? All good things must come to an end.
No.
I wonder if that applies to average things because we're at the end of the show.
I think you're exaggerating when you're describing us as average.
I've got to thank Mike Leeder for giving us the time. It was fun to talk to. Do appreciate it. I suppose we can thank the Boneheads for doing what they do.
Yeah, why not? Look, they don't listen, so they'll never know.
Wow, Joe's been a bit, mean-spirited lately towards us and favouring Chloe. So, I guess we'll thank them. Thanks to the Boneheads. Catch the Bonehead Weekly podcast.
Like it's just Joe. What about Chad and James? Have done nothing wrong.
They're legends. Their latest episode was recorded live from the Lexington Comic Con, so that's a good one to listen to. It's quite fun. And
every time I hear that they're in Lexington, I just think of Justified. Like they're literally in Boyd Crowdertown.
Man, they do some good cons over there. Also, thanks to Jarrett and thanks to you, mate. Thanks for another.
Oh, and thanks to you.
Well, I was going to say, why do I thank you? Like, it's our show. Yeah. Thanks us.
I like me, as Stuart Smalley
Like, follow, subscribe, support all of our social media stuffs. And if you dig the music that you hear on this show, I haven't mentioned this for a while. Hit us up on Spotify because we have a playlist called Good Movie Monday, the music, and there's over 13 hours of music, all stuff that's been played on the show. A lot of it. 13 hours.
Talk about challenging lengths.
A joke from off the mic.
Yeah. I like to throw those in occasionally just to keep people guessing.
There we go. Here's the latest installment to that playlist. It's Bloodhound Gang. Along Comes Mary from Half Baked.
Bloodhound Gang.
Did I say Bloodhound Gang? I said Bloodhound Gang. I don't know. What the fuck?
So it's a German hardcore synth band.
Is that it?
That's
We're
it.
done? Okay,
That's it,
good.
yeah.
All right. See you next week, mate.
Every time I think that I'm the only one who's lonely, someone calls on me. And every now and then I spend my time at rhyme and verse and curse those faults in me. And then along comes Mary. Then along comes Mary. And does she wanna give me kicks and give me slutty chicken, give me freaking memories? Or maybe rather gather tests from all the fails and tribulations no one ever sees. That I was sure out to lunch. Now I empty cup, taste as sweet as the punch. Sweet as the punch. When the desire is the fire in the eyes of chicks whose sickness is the games they play. And when the masquerade is played and neighbor folks make jokes as who is most to blame today. And then along comes Mary. Then along comes Mary. And does she wanna set them free and let them see reality from where she got her name? And will they struggle much with told that such a tender touch of hers will make them not the same? That I was sure out to lunch. Now I empty cup, taste as sweet as the punch. Sweet as the punch. Plastic gas and plastic kids are flung across the stars. The psychodramas and the traumas gone. The songs are left unsung and hung upon the stars. And then along comes Mary. Then along comes Mary. And does she want to see the stains that get remains of all the things she left the night before? Or will their waking eyes reflect the lies and make them realize the urgent cry for sight no more? I was sure out to lunch. Now I empty cup, taste as sweet as the punch. Sweet as the punch. I was sure out to lunch. Now I empty cup, taste as sweet as the punch. I was sure out to lunch. Now I empty cup, taste as sweet as the punch. I was sure out to lunch. Now I empty cup, taste as sweet as the punch. When we met, I was sure out to lunch. Now I empty cup, taste as sweet as the punch. When we met, I was sure out to lunch. Now I empty cup, taste as sweet as the punch. When we met, I was sure out to lunch. Now I empty cup, taste as sweet as the punch. Sweet as the punch.